You stand in front of Osborne Manor, waiting for Harry to return home from boarding school in London. The only contact you had had with him in the last 10 years was over FaceTime, texting each other, and only 2 trips to Europe to go visit him. You take a deep breath as you see the black car pull into the driveway and stop at the door. The back window on the side closest to you goes down and you see Harry. His bright blue eyes meet yours as the man sitting next to him says, "Welcome home." You smile as the butler opens the door for him, and as soon as he gets out of the car, Harry walks up to you and wraps his arms around you in a tight hug. "I've missed you, Ryan," he says into your ear as you hug him back just as tightly. "I've missed you too, Harry," you say as you pull away slightly to look into his bright blue eyes. He's about to say something else, but the sound of someone clearing their throat stops him, making you both turn to the person who had interrupted the moment between the two of you. "Your father's waiting for you," says the man. Harry nods before taking your hand in his, leading you inside the mansion. The two of you are led to Norman's bedroom. The butler turns to you and Harry. "It's dark in there. Your eyes will adjust." "It's better this way," he says softly before he opens the door, letting him in. Harry turns his head to you and you nod at him, giving his hand a light squeeze for encouragement before letting it go and letting him enter the bedroom where his father lies on his bed, dying a slow and painful death. Harry enters the dark room, slowly making his way to the bed. He moves the curtains aside to see his father laying there, in the low light of the room. You try not to eavesdrop on their conversation from where you stand near the doorway, but it's very hard for you since you had been very upset when Norman sent Harry away to boarding school in Europe in the first place when you two were 11 years old. "Dad?" Harry asks softly as he sits in the chair that is set next to Norman's bed. Norman turns his head away from Harry before he speaks. "This is not how I imagined I would die," he says before turning his head back towards Harry as he looks him up and down. "Looking at my son and seeing a stranger." The comment makes you angry. It makes you want to say something to him about how he had sent Harry away, forgetting about him for over 8 years, separating the two of you when the two of you were best friends, and not even sending him any birthday presents, visiting him, or even just calling him once in a while to see how he was doing. He did nothing, and you did everything in your power to comfort Harry when you could, even if you weren't there with him yourself. You even went to go visit him a couple of times when you had saved enough money for a flight to where he was. You take a deep, slow breath, restraining yourself from saying anything about how Norman sending Harry away had affected the both of you in so many different ways. Harry more so than you. You will pay attention to their conversation again to see Norman shake his head slightly. "You had so much potential, Harry. Such fierce intelligence, and you're throwing it all away," he says. "No, you threw me away," Harry replies. Norman sighs before Harry continues. "You kicked me off to boarding school when I was 11. On my 16th birthday, you sent me scotch. Or one of your assistants did. I'm pretty sure because the card read, 'With compliments, Norman Osborne.'" As Harry had said that, Norman slowly sat up, leaning closer to him. "I don't expect forgiveness from you anymore. I don't believe in miracles. How could you possibly understand that your childhood had to be sacrificed for something greater? Not just for me. For you," he says, making you look at Harry to see his expression. "Have your hands started to twitch yet?" Norman asks him. "When you lay awake and you feel it coming, hiding under your skin, waiting to show itself, to show you who you really are," Norman says before he starts coughing and lays back down on the bed. "Oh my God, Harry," you think as you realize what he's talking about. "The Osborne curse. Retroviral hyperplasia. I never told you it's genetic. Our disease. The Osborne curse. And it began at your age," Norman says, making Harry look down at his lap. "Let me see it. Your hand. Give it to me," Norman demands. Harry hesitantly gives him his hand, and when he grabs it, Harry stands from the chair so that his father can see his hand better. Norman moves his other hand to Harry's and puts something in it before covering it with his. The greatest inheritance I can give you is nearly money. It's this, a sum of all my work, everything I did to stay alive. He says, maybe you can succeed, where I failed. He continues softly before removing his hand from Harry's. A hand being placed on your shoulder startles you, and you turn around to see one of the doctors. It's time for you all to leave. You nod before turning to see Harry still standing next to the bed. You slowly walk up to him and place a hand on his shoulder. Harry, it's time to go, you say, and he turns to you and nods. You smile softly at him and give him your hand to hold. He puts the small object that his father gave him in his pocket before taking your hand, letting you lead him out of the dark room. You lead Harry to his bedroom. He lets go of your hand as you close the door behind you. After you close the door behind you, you turn to see Harry sitting on the bed looking down at his hands. You slowly make your way over to the bed and sit next to him. Harry, you ask softly, you all right? He looks up at you with sadness in his blue eyes. Oh, Harry, you say as you take his hands in yours. You won't be alone in this. I'll always be here for you. You say, giving his hands a squeeze as you look into his bright blue eyes. I know, says Harry as he moves one of his hands from yours up to your face, moving a stray hair from your face and tucking it behind your ear. You always have been, he says, cupping your cheek in his hand, making you tilt your head into his touch. He then slowly leans forward, pressing his forehead against yours, and he smiles at you. For a moment, the two of you stare into each other's eyes. He starts leaning in closer to you. Your breath hitches for a moment when you feel his breath against your lips. Harry looks into your eyes intently, as if asking if it was okay to kiss you. You nod slightly, and he considers that as confirmation that he can kiss you. His lips gently touch yours, and you instantly relax against him, kissing him back. His hand slides behind your head, pulling you closer as he kisses you. A moment later, he slowly lets go, keeping his forehead against yours. I have always loved you, Wyan, he says softly. You smile at him. I love you too, Harry.